Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 140th episode of the Spiritual Brainstorm. In this video, I will re explore shortly, hopefully, because my video is quite long, intention and creation and some new kind of little insight that I had into how things manifest and the kind of filters that they go through. So let's go right into it. So, one of the latest kind of puzzling questions that I had is when you as a human, for instance, want to create something and you have an idea in your mind, an idea that you want to then have descend into matter, take physical form, for instance. Of course, you have certain intentions and you have maybe some hidden ones, obviously, trauma and all that kind of thing. And to me, as humans, we always see the visible obstacles, what's obvious, the visible problems. Like, for instance, you need a permit, you need to, I don't know, you don't have the financial resources, you know, this or that. But the visible reasons for why your ideas don't manifest in matter is the interface. This, well, more or less like the superficial kind of reasons. So it's like the form. But behind the visible reasons, there is the invisible or the substance. So as I was saying in all my previous videos, our reality is but a convenient interface for just pure vibrations. But even those vibrations are a product of the only two things that exist: nothingness or zero and infinity. And this is like in between is your physical matter or physical world. But ultimately, everything is just the product of zero and infinity. Everything is between nothing and everything. And so, as a consciousness, whenever you want to do anything, you think that you're actually putting things into action via your visible interface. But what happens is your consciousness is not in that interface. It affects directly the actual substance or the source code. So it's as if you're just a bundle of vibrations that sends out. So let's say a human is just a big packet of information as vibrations, and you give a form to that of a human, but that's not what you look like. You're like a black hole or self-contained packet of information interacting with other black holes or other packets of self-contained information. And anytime you want to do anything, you're sort of emitting a vibration here into, you know, what you want to do, and it affects your reality. And then the reality, then you model it as the change that you've put into the world, put out into the world. Why isn't everything instantaneous? Is because what you're emitting, you don't see it. You actually kind of modulate what you're manifesting, what you're putting out as information via all of your belief systems. So, for instance, you could instantly manifest things, but instead of manifesting them as an instant packet of information that just sends the signal to the sea of information that you're bathing in to manifest whatever your intention is, what you do is you send tiny little packets of information at a time. You know, like, oops, this is the bundle of information which says, in order to plant a tree, I have to first get up with my couch and go buy some seeds in the store. Then you send out another packet of information. In order to plant a tree, I need to first find some fertile land. And then another packet of information. In order to do this, blah, blah, blah. But another thing that you don't realize is that on top of these little packets of information, you have also some hidden or unconscious kind of content. And that gets filtered via nothingness and infinity in the following ways. So any information that you actually put out goes through nothingness or zero, then goes to infinity, and then tries to work its way down towards our level of reality or work its way up towards our level of reality. What does it mean? It means that humans, for instance, are, they have this collective consensus reality, which is based on science, for instance, all right? So whenever you have an intention, you emit certain vibrations out, and those vibrations get filtered by going from zero to our reality, which is actually all of the layers and steps and beliefs that you've placed on top of reality, which filter out what is possible versus what is impossible. So in other words, your intentions go through all the intermediary layers that you have placed, that humanity has placed as their interface between pure information, pure vibration, and nothingness, in order to check if it's possible or not. So, in other words, you emit a vibration, it goes through nothingness, and then it has to work its way upwards through all these layers, which is, what is it? Subparticles. What is it like? What are they called now? Can't remember. Anyways, let's just say they're subparticles or quarks. Yeah, that's it. Quarks. Subparticles. Elementary particles, neutrons, whatever, protons, atoms, molecules. And then cells even, maybe. So, in other words, you emit a vibration and that it actually it affects all of matter working its way upwards and not downwards. What we think is that we do something in our reality, like we touch something or we interact with something, and that information gets translated down to all of the layers to reflect then to us what we see. But that's not how it works, because obviously the only real reality is these two poles. And so that's the gateways through which reality sort of actualizes or, self-actualizes itself. Because then it would mean that the universe is basically static. All of these layers are universal and are universal to all different species or any kind of, humanoid creature in the whole universe, which is really presumptuous. On the contrary, like an alien from another planet, they would have maybe different layers between zero and their base reality, their experience. And that's why they would have a different kind of experience in manifesting things. And that's also why you explain that, people from like Atlantis or other, civilizations had different technologies, quote unquote. It's simply because the layers that they place between themselves, their level of reality, and nothingness working its way up was different. Now, that's one part of the equation. The other part is the layers that you put between yourself and infinity. And those are much more complex even than these ones, because this one is kind of comprehensible. And it's like society can self-actualize these by pushing their common beliefs or consensus. The more we advance in this kind of knowledge of like quantum, blah, 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 it's a way to open up our minds to more possibilities of what's possible, basically. And that means that more things can happen simply because you don't filter them out via these different layers that you've constructed between you and void, between you and nothingness, between you and vacuum or pure energy or whatever you want to call it. Now, these layers here, those are all your psychic barriers. So imagine, for instance, that you believe as a human that you are evil, or that you are stupid, or that you will never be recognized for what you do, or that people don't love you, or that people mistrust you, all kinds of trauma, all kinds of problems, or whatever, which means that even if physically in the material side you can do something like plant a tree, the way that it's going to be perceived, or the context within which you do it, is going to be built from this side of reality, where it goes down from infinity towards you. And you might plant that tree, but then you'll do it precisely surrounded by like three people that will be there and will tell you something like, let's say, you have no right to do this, you shouldn't be here, because you have some kind of belief or trauma that you're always underappreciated for what you do, for instance. But that's just like stupid examples from the top of my head. But just to tell you that the process of manifestation and the law of attraction and all of that requires to be conscious of both of these things. And while this one is kind of intuitive and we kind of know, like we have an inkling of how that works, because it's not really magical in a way. It can be magical if you manage to sort of bypass these layers in one way or another, via, for instance, going through infinity. So one example is, for instance, you are a Buddhist monk in the middle of the Himalayan mountains. You have the right to bypass these layers from going from zero to infinity, and bypass all of the layers of like science or whatever, and levitate in your mountain, because you have created a sort of a bubble for yourself where you're not contradicting anyone about their beliefs in a materialist kind of scientific world. And therefore you can have that experience alone in your mountain, away from people that might be shocked by what they see. And that's typically, people that want to have a unique individual experience, but that cannot be generalized to the entire of humanity. It'll always be an experience that you and you only had, and you will never be able to go in front of a crowd of like 10 million people and start levitating in front of them, except if humanity completely self-actualizes all of these layers of belief systems, and the interface between zero or nothingness and our present reality, and then fine. Obviously, those experiences become available to more people. But yeah, I mean, this layer here, the ones where your intentions, your actions go through infinity and then have to work their way down, that is all of your, shadow work, all of the healing your traumas, all of the cleaning up your core beliefs, your limiting beliefs, your anything that kind of your hidden intentions or motives, anything that may color your experience or sabotage it, which is not necessarily in the physical. The physical layer is fine. Like it will say, yeah, sure, you can do that. And then in the other part, it says, no, he can't. And then you're stuck. So that's how I'm kind of breaking apart what manifests in your reality. And so just to summarize, you are just a big self-contained bundle of information, energy, vibrations. And whenever you manifest, you break down your intentions of manifesting things into small packets of what you want to do, because that's how your mind has been formatted, even though you could actually just release it as a full package, and it like something could manifest right in front of you. But that's just not our experience right now, because we have to grow into this capability. It's like consciousness has to grow in order to be capable of doing this in a responsible way. Because obviously, if you gave people nowadays the power to manifest anything with a pure thought, I mean, it would turn into chaos, this reality, very quickly. So the system is we release them in small packets, and these small packets get filtered through going from nothingness to our present level of reality, going through all the layers that we've constructed there, which is all the physical ones, which is quarks, atoms, molecules, whatever, and check if it's physically possible. And then it also goes through the infinity filter, which is it goes through infinity and then comes down towards our level of reality, and there it gets filtered by all your quote unquote psychic limitations, your limiting beliefs and all that stuff. So I hope you found this interesting. And then obviously, yeah, the result, the end result, is a mixture of these two processes. And that's where you may be kind of surprised at the result, and you're like, that's not what I wanted. But it actually is. It is. It's just that you don't understand the filtering process. And the more you clean these two up, the more you get exactly what you expected. So I hope you found this interesting. Don't hesitate to leave a comment, subscribe, share, the whole package. And talk to you in the next video.